I hope that you guys will ask me questions as well, because that would be an opportunity for me to use my own individual experience to answer your questions. So this is Pelumi.
Hello.
Uh, my name is Ebinisa Pelumi. Currently, I lead the project management office of Emerging Platforms Limited. All right. Uh, Okay, let's go straight down because there is no time. Now, have you all heard about the PMI? Because the kind of project management that I practice is one as dictated by the Project Management Institute. There are different project management bodies, but worldwide, PMI seems to be the number one, the most acceptable project management body. Of course, I know that in the UK, there is what we call the Prince 2 framework that applies. But when it comes to PMI in Nigeria, in Canada, in US, it's almost all over the place, right? So what that means is that for everybody, people come up with different framework to say, oh, this is how we think project management should be implemented. All right. So, but the frameworks are dictated by PMI is what we're going to be talking about. That's the standard. Okay, it's what we're going to be talking about. So they are, who are they? First of all, they are a group of project managers worldwide. I'm a member of PMI, and whenever there are new terms, new knowledge areas, new ways of doing things, they call for paper. Everyone worldwide can contribute and you could debate your stuff out, right? So it's not just a group of people sitting down in the boardroom and dictating how project management should be done. No, we have a group of practitioners, people who are on the field. Also included in that are professors, academicians, right? Those who are into the science of project management. And we all put eggs together and say, oh, this is being outdated. Recently, there is a wave and move towards agile project management, and PMI is embracing it, like really embracing that aspect, you know. So because it takes its sources or resources from the guys who are on the field. So it makes this body so powerful, you know. So like the slide said, it's a not-for-profit organization and it's made up of project and program managers, including academicians, right? And what they do is to guide the standards and framework of project management practices. Now, they are responsible for issuing out the PMP certification, and in addition, the PMBOK, which is just a short buzz for project management body of knowledge, project management body of knowledge. You need to, if you're interested or you're serious about project management, you need to get this book. If you're a member of PMI, the book is free for you. But if you're not, then you need to, you pay a token. So everything we're going to be talking about in this session stems from the guidelines as issued by Project Management Institute. All right. Now, we're talking about the fact that they issued out the framework. Now, what is a framework actually, or what is, well, when you say project management framework, what is it? It's just a set of best practices. I'm going to show you statistics later that says a lot of things about the rate of project failures. And this is not just in America or UK, talking about worldwide. Lots of projects fail, a whole lot of them. And so these best practices are like are there to guide us to say, if you follow through your project implementation with this set of standards, the likelihood of you succeeding is high. Okay, of course, there are other factors. I mean, there are environmental factors, there are natural disasters, there are government changing hands. There are a number of things. Even at that, these best practices put all of these things into consideration. And so, remember, I gave us a disclaimer earlier. What we are attempting to do this session for the next 1 hour or 1.5 hours is to touch some points. This is by no means once you're that to say that once you're done with this session, you're now a project manager. No, there is a whole lot of material, a whole lot of things to learn. But this, I hope that this will whet your appetite for project management, and you can come back to us, come back to the organizers of this session to say, I want to know more about project management. There are a science to it, there is an art to it as well. All right. So that's about framework. Now, I said also that there is a body of knowledge that the organization brings out, that guides every aspect of project management, from initiating the project to closing the project end to end. Is a body of principles. Some people call it a boring book, but I think it's a very insightful book. All right. Currently, it's on the 6th edition. I know that 7th edition will be coming out next year, sometimes next year. You need to get a hold of this book. If you're interested and you're serious about project management, you need to have this. This is one of the first books you should have in your library. All right. Yes. So PMP. After you've had this knowledge, you've gone to school, you've learned about project management, there's also a certification. Now, people always ask, why do I need to get certified? It's not just another paper. I think that the answer to that is you. You get to answer that. All right. But I think if I will advise, I think that there is no point you coming to me. I mean, I serve as the head of the project management office. So if someone comes to me now, I say, I want to work on one of your projects, and I have all this experience with project A, project B, project C, in a number of industries, blah, blah, blah. And I have about 10 years of experience, and I have 90% success rate on my projects. I'm going to ask you, why have you not been certified? Because it's a show. It's a show of seriousness for your career. Now, that does not mean that if you come to me and say, I'm PMP certified, you're going to get the job. No, you still have to demonstrate. You still have to demonstrate your knowledge. You still have to demonstrate your expertise. All right. But it's a balance, it's on a scale. So if you're serious about this career, get the knowledge, get the exposure, get the certification. All right. It just opens doors for you, So I'll recommend, yes, get the knowledge. I'll recommend you also work towards the certification. One thing that it does for you is that it helps you to dive down into the deeper concepts of project management, because you have to read, you have to understand, you have to analyze, you have to do calculations, you have to do all of those things to pass to get certified, and that helps you to automatically deepen your knowledge of project management. So there is no win-lose here. It's a win-win thing. So as you're planning to get started in project management, and you're getting the books and you're getting the PM book, also work towards getting certified. All right. I will take questions afterwards. So if you have questions for me, please note them down. At the end of the session, I'm going to take questions. All right. So straight away, what is a project? Now, people tell me a number of things. But when you critically analyze it, you find out that they are not a project. It's just an operation. So I would like to open up to and allow the people listening to me right now. If you know the difference between a project and an operation, from what you know, please let us know. Would you? Who would like to tell us? It might be a wrong answer. Don't never mind. Just tell us right now. What's your understanding between a project and an operation? Who wants to go first and help us out here?
Hello, good evening. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, correct. But if I go by that definition, right? Can we say projects too contribute to the running of an organization, doesn't it? Right, Lucia? An operation is the day-to-day activities of the organization. Thank you, guys. So let me just clarify right now. On the slide, I underlined something, some words. A project is temporary, meaning that it has a beginning and it has an end. Then the end result is that it creates a unique product or service. All right, so projects are temporary. Operations are perpetual. I'm borrowing that from Olaleye Jedediah. Thank you. Projects are ongoing. You know, when you go to an office, if you're an accounts officer, a finance officer, right? When you do payroll, when you do all of those things, these are what you do every time. In fact, a time comes that when you do these operations long enough, you can actually do it in your sleep, right? For every project, it is different because of a number of factors. Your stakeholders, for example, may be different. The fact that you implement this project in Nigeria, for example, where I am, right? And I say, oh, I have experience in that project. So let me go to the UK to implement the same project, even though it's the same project, but it's a different ball game entirely because right now the stakeholders are different, the government policies are different, even the weather, which will affect project and the project team, are different. The minimum wage, which will affect the budget, that's different. A number of factors will make it so different, all right? So the fact that it's a similar project does not mean that it's the same thing. They are always unique. You always face a different set of factors. And so a project is temporary and it creates a unique product out. That's why we can have something called a project staff. Now I'm going to talk about that briefly at some point when we talk about the organizational structures of project. But thank you everybody for your contribution to that question. If you have questions about clarifying more about these operations and projects, just note it down or type it out and I will see it in the chat and I will go back to it, please. In fact, let's do that. As I speak along and you have questions, just type it in the chat box and I will pick it up and address them. All right. So we've talked about what a project is. We've talked about now, what about project management? It's simple. It's just the application of the knowledge. Remember we talked about the PM book, which is a body of knowledge, which contains the framework and standards as stipulated by PMI, right? So when you apply all of this knowledge, the skill sets you've developed and learned, the tools and techniques contained in the PM book, and you mix up with your project activities in such a way that you meet your project requirements. All right? You're managing a project. If you are doing all of these things, now this word here, this definition here is so deliberate. If you do all of these things, but you're not applying it towards meeting up with your project requirements, I don't know what you're doing, because a time will come, your project budget, you will run out of that, and then what happens? That project would have failed because you expended the budget, you expended the time, and you've not met your goal. Okay? So take note of everything I mentioned there. Everything must move towards achieving the project requirement. All right. So now in project management, there is also something we call program management, and there's also something we call portfolio management. There is a difference. And so the difference is just as in a program is a group of projects that you're managing together in order to extract some benefits. Let me explain that. For one of my projects, for example, there was a time I was running a project in the northeastern states, Nigeria, and that's in about 5 northeastern states, northwest rather, not northeast, northwestern states. And I needed some ad hoc staffs in each of those. Now, I have the option of going into each state and interviewing people, right? And of course, interviewing them and giving them the contract job. Why would I do that? So I decided to get an HR consultant involved. I said, I need 15 people. I need them to be able to work in this state. So just get me 15 people. Now, imagine if I have gone ahead to engage an HR consultant for 5 states individually. I would have spent more. Even though the job they're going to do, the staff are going to do are on a little bit different projects, right? But I'm putting together that energy. I'm engaging one consultant. I'm saving money by engaging just one consultant to say, I need these people, and these are the skills that I need. When it gets to me, I assign them to the states. Now, that's like managing it as a program, because there are multiple projects right there in different locations, but I was able to manage them as a program. So that's an example of a program or program management, right? So projects that you manage together, basically because you want to take advantage of economies of scale, you can call them a program, all right? And then you can have a program manager on top of that. So where you have, in that case, project managers are on top of their projects, but those 2, 3, 4, 5 projects will reasons. Probably because of leadership. The board might just want to talk to one person. Talk to one person, the portfolio manager, to say, I want details from all our projects and programs. And that one person oversees and is responsible for everything they do. Now, that is a portfolio. So get the difference now. For programs, the projects are related because you're managing some parts together because you want to gain some economies of scale. Portfolio, the projects or programs does not really have to relate to one another, but you're just putting them in a portfolio for strategic reasons. All right? Okay. Oh, can everyone hear me? I guess my voice went off at some point. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now, there are some incredible statistics I would like to show us. Yeah, it is true that most projects ends up spending much more than the original budget. It is not just in our local, in the continent or in the country. This is a worldwide situation. So when you budget 100 million for a project, at the end of the project, you find out that you spent at least 89% more. That is the average. Some projects get up to 500%, really. All right? That is bad for project management. You get it? Also, 31% of projects are cancelled even before they start. Now, these are worldwide statistics. And also, 7 out of 10 projects fail in one way or the other. So that means that worldwide, we're looking at a good success rate of 30%, 3 out of 10 projects. The question you want to ask yourself is, as a project manager, which part of the scale are you going to be contributing to? The one that failed or the one that succeeded, right? And you must know that the larger the project, the greater the risk of failure, because you have to manage multiple factors. Imagine projects that spans 3 continents, 15 countries, and let's say 5 languages. So you're dealing with Indians, Chinese, British, Spanish, and you're all working on the same project. That's always a communication issue right there. First of all, a communication risk, okay? And then not to talk about the time. When somebody is reporting to the office, the other team in the other state, in the other country is leaving for home, okay? So the larger the project, the greater the risk of failure. Now, all of these are grim data, grim statistics. But do you know who makes the difference? It is the project manager. It is you that is interested in being the project manager. That's why people pay so much for good project managers. Project managers who can put things together, who can communicate properly, who do a good job as an integrator, integrating the different parts of the project, the different teams on the project together to achieve the project aim, okay? That is why the world needs you. You are a star, you're a hero. Really, the world needs you because of this, all right? And people have made fun of project managers. I mean, these t-shirts, I saw it somewhere on the internet, like a project manager is a person who thinks 9 women can deliver a baby in 1 month. Just because you want to crash the program, right? But it's okay. Project managers needs to balance a number of things. Your team morale, your communications, your stakeholders. We'll talk about stakeholders later, I think. Everything, your budget, your costing, your timing, including natural disasters. That, I mean, a hurricane is there right now in Florida. And I'm sure that if you're planning a project this time last year, people didn't know that there was going to be an hurricane on this particular day. Maybe they might say, know that hurricane season is coming, right? But then these are all part of what you have to manage as a project manager. Let me quickly talk about project organization structures. I'm moving towards the organization bit by bit right now. In project management, there are different organization structures, right? Now, this is a screenshot from the PM book, All right. So now, depending on the organization you belong to or you're working with at the time, some organizations will give the project manager full support, full control. You control your budget, you control your team members, you control when they come in, when they go out, when they do stuff. But in some organizations, these project managers are not so lucky. They are not at all. A good example is the functional. Now, the functional are the normal offices we have, where offices are categorized into functions. When I mean functions, I'm talking about you have the finance team, you have the admin team, you have the HR, you have the sales team, you have the marketing team. So that is, they all have their heads. And so as a project manager in a functional environment, what you do is when you have a project, you have to now start borrowing staff, borrowing personnel, and meeting up with this functional person. I need your guy for 2 days. I need this person for 3 months. And if they give you, good. Functional managers can withdraw or can replace personnel midway, however they like, because they are functional managers. They are the top guy there. Whatever they say is law. So your negotiating skills have to come to the table. You have to really negotiate. And another thing is that the personnel you're borrowing on your project, they still report. They report to their functional head. So that means they report to 2 people, right? And of course, because it's a functional environment, they would gravitate towards those functional managers more than you, because they know that once this project ends, they go back to their functional department. They go back to their marketing department. They go back to their sales department. So if there is a clash between the project manager and the functional manager, definitely your team are going to side with their functional manager. That is the way it is, because they are, as far as they are concerned, for projects, they are temporary personnel. All right. So in a functional manager, the authority of the project manager is low, and you can see the table here. All right. The resource availability is also low. Okay. And yes, the slides will be available. I'm going to make the slides available afterwards. Okay. And then I think the session is also being recorded. I think so. So projectized, moving away from functional, projectized environment are where in this company, what we do is projects. The project manager can decide to hire or fire, move people around. He has 100% control of his project resources. Okay, that is like a project manager's paradise, where you can have 100% control of your project resources. All right, but no, life is not paradise all the time, right? So that is ideal, really, but we don't usually operate in an ideal situation. In fact, for my own experience, when I got started as a project manager, I had a vision of how we want to operate, how we want the project management office to operate. But then the company was basically functional in the way it was spread out, set up. Okay, I had to. It took some time to lobby the management, the board, to see why we needed to operate in a projectized manner, why we needed to have to empower the project management office. Because you know that for a project manager, that is the best scenario, where you can have total control over your resources. All right. But in the real world, what you will see most of the time is a matrix setup. That is, a matrix is just a mixture of both functional and projectized, where both functional managers and the project manager, they share responsibility. Now, depending on the people, depending on your company, it may be a weak matrix, a balanced matrix, or a strong matrix. Now, it's left for the PM, that is the project manager, to wear his people management cap and get the best out of this. All right. Okay. So a question from Lucia. He said, can you use examples of or types of companies and their organizational structures? Now, organizational structures are internal. Okay. I know that for construction companies generally, I think they are more projectized because they deal with, of course, they employ based on projects. If there are no projects, the staff know that they're not going to have any contract or any work, right? So I think construction companies generally are more projectized than any other. For technology companies, for emerging platforms, the company where I work has been dealing with projects a lot. So we are more matrix before we establish the project management office. Now, the moment we establish the project management office, it helps us it gave the project managers a lot of power. It means that if we need a marketing person on a project, if the functional manager says, my guys are not available, we would go, because we control our budgets, right? We can just use our budget to get somebody on a temporary basis to act on that project. And once the project is completed, we release them. So that gave us a lot of power. We're no longer depending on the functional manager. So technology companies generally that does projects generally tends to be a balanced matrix between a balanced matrix structure to a projectized structure, depending on the person, on the people, the makeup of the character, the characters that make up the structures in the company. All right. As a project manager, must I have prior knowledge of that field? I think it will help you. You don't have to. Project management knowledge you need in a pharmaceutical industry, right? In agric, in construction, in a tech company, they're about the same. But then if you're going into a specific industry, along with your project management knowledge, you need to know more. You need to continue to learn about that specific industry. The more you know about that specific industry, the better. All right. Imagine if you are a project manager for a tech firm and you're dealing with programmers. It's going to be difficult because you need to know how programmers think, how they work. How do you even want to oversee their work, right? So it helps a lot. While core project management knowledge is the same across board, you could apply it across board, but you need, once you know you're getting into a specific industry, my advice is that you begin to know as much as you can. Maybe not to the details, but as much as you can as concerning that industry. It will help you a whole lot. Let me move on. There's a lot to still talk about. Okay, let's talk about these are just some common project management terminologies. These are not all, there are a number of them. But I just feel to talk about these ones. First is organizational process assets. Now, these are assets you refer to every time you're on the project. These are like your templates, the way you do things. For example, you're about to set up a meeting of stakeholders. Maybe you're initiating a project. How does your company organize meetings? Now, instead of reinventing the wheel, it's always okay to go back to how we've done it in past projects. Say, oh, this was a template of a communication strategy we use on similar projects. Let's see how we can adapt it to fit this one. Now, it's going to give you an head start because you're not reinventing the wheel. Now, all of these things, all of these assets are what we refer to as organizational process assets. So you're no longer reinventing the wheel from scratch, all right? Enterprise environmental factors, called EFA by PMI, are those factors that are outside of your control, like government policy. Say you have, what is the government policy on importing drones, for example? Say you want to use drones to map, part of your project deliverable will be to map some farmlands, right? To geomarket and load it up on a platform, for example, and you need drones to do that. Let's assume. Now, the question now is, what is the government policy? Because you don't have control over that. What will be the custom duties you're going to pay for importing drones? Then the kind of drones you want, is it free for you to bring in drones that can go only like 20 feet? What if your project needs drones that can go up to 10,000 feet? Is there a ban? Or do you need to write to the Ministry of Defense and get a clearance? Now, all of these are factors outside of your control. Industry standards, government policies, they all come under enterprise environmental factors, all right? Okay, project stakeholders. Now, this is where we usually miss it, most project managers, all right? Most people believe that those who are these project sponsors or the board, they are my project stakeholders, and they leave out a number of people. How many of us remember when pipelines were being busted here and there in the Niger Delta some years ago, right? So the companies, the companies operating in that region forgot the fact that the community they are operating in are also stakeholders. They can get agitated. They can be manipulated by enemy companies or whatever reason, or even the economic hardship can agitate them. So they are your stakeholders. And who is your stakeholder? Your stakeholder are anyone that will be affected by your project, either negatively or positively. Anyone that will be affected, that has something to gain or to lose from your project, positively or negatively. All right. So talk about the communities again. When oil spillage started, the communities were suffering. Okay. And I think that the reason why the companies and even the government did not attend to that on time was because probably just felt, oh, we've taken care of the government, we've gotten approval and accreditation from the government. So who are the communities? No, the government will take care of them. All right. But when those agitations started, companies had no choice but to now go as low as the village chiefs to say, we want to build schools for you, allow our pipeline to lie in peace. Let's do our businesses in peace. All of those things. So everybody, when you're a project manager, you have to sit down, brainstorm. Who are those people who can pour sand in my garri, if I may use that word? Okay. Also, who are those people who will be beneficiaries of the success of my project? You have to list them as well so that you can better work with them, manage them. Those ones who will benefit from the success of a project, you go to them, communicate properly, say, this thing we're doing, by the time we're done, these are the benefits that accrues to you. Now, what that does for you as a project manager is that they will do everything in their power to ensure that that project comes to light. Okay? Even if it means spending their own money, their own influence to aid you, to aid your team, they will do it. And for those that can disrupt things, you manage them. You give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. If it's communication, some people just want you to honor them, respect them by sending a report to them once a month or once a week, and that's all. And they are your friend. So find out. Do not list out. Do not omit anybody. Now, the process of identifying stakeholders is not something you do once. In fact, it's something you continue to do from the beginning, from initiating to the closing out of the project. I've been on a project where, we thought we did everything possible, and when it was time to close out the project, the procurement person, the principal officers have said they've delivered. They are happy. We took forms to the community where we operated. They filled the forms. They said they are happy. We took pictures, videos. Everybody was happy. But let's get sign off now. We couldn't. You know what? The legal team and the audit team, the office people, they've been waiting for us because they felt, oh, so you think we're not important? You started this project. You went to the field. You were taking care of people, but we were not important. So yeah, we'll wait now because this thing needs to pass through them. In the end, it has to go through legal and audit before even the board can certify. Now, we had to, at that point in time, that was an eye-opener. That was, I'm talking about a government project we did some 9 years ago. It was an eye-opener. And since then, we added that to our organizational process assets to say, stakeholders, we've done government projects. Who are the stakeholders we identified in the past? We just bring them in, all of them. And then we now look at this peculiar situation and identify new stakeholders to add to it, right? And we have to rate them. That's what we call stakeholders analysis. It is not covered here, where you rate their authority level and you rate their influence level. Okay, some people are highly influential. Some people are very powerful. Some people are not powerful, but it doesn't make them less of a stakeholder. It just helps you to know how to manage them. Now you could read more about stakeholder management. Okay, I brought out the sponsor, the project team, really out of the project stakeholders. Your sponsor is your key stakeholder. This is the guy you go to if you need some extra money. I hope you don't, because if at any point in time you say you need some extra money or you need some extra time, I'm going to talk about that, but they are related. What that means is that your planning was not good enough. Let's call it what it is. No matter how good or seasoned you think you are, no matter how well you might have brainstormed, you started on a project with an approved budget of, say, 10 million naira. You say you're going to finish in 6 months, right? And 6 months down the line, you are still like, let's say 85%. Oh, you say you've tried, though. Most of the project managers are at 40%. I don't care. Okay? You have done your planning. If you have done your planning very well, you will know whether 6 months was good enough and whether 10 million naira was good enough. But in any case, this is the guy, the project sponsor is the guy who can have your back. If you lose faith in the project sponsor, you might as well be looking for another job straight away. Okay? You don't want to lose faith with the project sponsor, actually. And your project team, see, you're the project manager. Your key area is human management, your communications. Questions that was asked earlier, must you have prior knowledge of that field? You really don't have to have prior knowledge. Project manager is really about leadership. Okay, we're into technology, and of course I have some coding certifications I can code, but definitely not as much as the developers on the team. Okay, no, not as much, not even close. All right, but what makes, what makes it different is how I'm able to coordinate the team. People think that the way a project manager will manage a construction project, you can bring that same thing out and manage a technology project. No, please, they are not the same. In construction, your project team are actually less literate, and it's all about brawls, right? So you need to look into their faces. You need to shout at them because they need to. It's something you need to do with your hands, right? That's construction. But in other projects, like if you're running a project in pharmaceutical or in the tech, like I am or I have been, it is not about brawl. It is about leadership. It is about coordination. It is about empathy. Knowing when someone is tired and calling him and sitting down. I know that you're tired. I know you're sick. I know that your child is sick and all of those things. But here is it. I want to give you a time off, but we have a deadline in 4 days' time. If you miss deadline in 4 days' time, it's going to affect the 2 deadlines we have next month automatically. So how can we help each other? The fact that you understand with that person, the person will say, okay, you know what? And I've been in this situation where the developers told me, 4 of them said, you know what? Just give us the next 48 hours to go and sleep, watch TV. In fact, at some point, you know what I did? I brought my PS4 to the office. We bought a TV, a smart TV from the project's money budgets, right? Put it there in the lounge. Hey, you guys play game, sleep, do whatsoever you want for the next 48 hours. You know what I did was that after the 48 hours, in fact, before the 48 hours elapsed, these guys began to, and they did round the clock. They did round the, and they met with that budget, that deadline in 4 days. Okay, so now that's what I'm saying. You have to look at the people you're dealing with. You cannot copy and paste from one industry to the other. You also cannot copy and paste from one team to the other. You have to get in touch with your team members. Your project team is very important. If they are not delivering, you are not delivering as a project manager. That is it. Okay? If your project team member know that you have their back, they will have your back as well. Unfortunately, this session does not go into human resources and communications, no, but just know that being a project manager is about influence. It's not about who can shout on the top of their voice or who can intimidate people. No. Maybe that works in construction or other areas. I'm sorry I'm saying construction because I know you have to use that tool. It's a tool actually, and also it's an effective tool in some situations. But those are tools that you use often in that kind of industry. But you cannot be using that across board. I mean, okay. Now, lastly, change control board. Now, these are a very important set of people. Sometimes the owner, the project owners, that's the client now, they may not really know what they want in detail. Okay. So maybe you are in the middle of the project and they're not saying, I will want this one to add this one to it. But you know what that does? That little thing they want to add, somebody is going to work it. It's going to cost money, right? That means that you need more money to be able to add that, and you need more time to be able to add that. Okay, so it's important for every project manager to always have what we call a change control board. It's usually comprised of the project owners, the project sponsor, and some key people, influential people, right? So that if they say there is a change request and you document that change request, you take it and you analyze it. This change request was done by the project owner or a commissioner or whoever, right? This change request, the implication is that we're going to spend additional 2 million naira and we're going to spend additional 4 days. That 2 million naira means that we're going to pay more overtime, or we're going to pay for more hands to be able to get it done, or we're going to buy more equipment or more raw materials. Whatever it is, you have to analyze it out. It has to be plain. Okay. So you now take your analysis to the change control board. Now, change the project sponsor, the project owner, that is the kind that is paying, is also part of this board. He said, this is it. Do you guys want to approve it? Do you want us to do this? Which means that we will need one more month, or we need more money. If they say yes, fantastic. That means that your official budget has just grown by 1 or 2 million, and your official time to finish the project are just been extended by 1 more month. Okay, and when you go beyond that benchmark, that baseline has moved. So when you now spend additional money, you're not spending above your budget anymore. You're still within your budget. So please note that any changes to baselines that are approved by the Change Control Board forms a new baseline for your project. Okay? Forms a new baseline for your project. I will recommend that project managers delegate. That is where the power is, rather than micromanage. If you cannot trust your team members, then they shouldn't be on your team, because it also means that they won't be able to trust you. If you tell them that this will happen, they won't trust you in return. Trust is important. Now, whatever you need to do to get your team members to where you can trust them, you have to do it. If they need to go on, there are some companies, when they bring you in, the first thing they do is send you on a course. You know that? Okay. When they send you on a course, the whole idea is to bridge the knowledge gap, so that when you come back, they know that you have the skill set to do the job. Also means that beyond the skill set, the tools. If they need a MacBook, if they need a specialized tool, get it for them. When you have prepared your team members, trust me, there will be no need for you to micromanage. Micromanaging only comes when you do not have confidence in your team, or when you're not sure they will deliver and they will do it right the first time. When you're not sure, and beyond that, beyond your team, when you are also not sure about your processes, your quality processes, your quality quality assurance processes. When you're sure, when you set systems in place and you're very sure about your systems, processes, and procedures, there will be little or no need to micromanage. That is true. All right. So that was an answer to a question by Tendai. Thank you for that. So let me quickly move on to project management processes. Okay. I told us earlier that the PM book, currently in its 6th edition, is a must get. You can go and get it, please. It is important you have every project manager, whether a novice, whether new to project management or an experienced project manager, we always refer to this book. Always. It's like a Bible. Yeah. I mean, it's like a Bible, really, really. So please lay your hand on it. You can search the internet, but go to pmi.org and pay a token. Or if you join as a member, you can join as a member. And once you join as a member, the book will be given to you free of charge. Even the new edition coming out next year will be given to you free of charge. So why not be a member of PMI? I mean, there are other gains in being a member. You get to also link up with project managers, that association, local events, and all of those things. Well, according to PM book, there are 49 processes in all. Okay. Now, in reality now, it doesn't mean that when you're implementing a project, you have to use the entire Fortnite processes. They are best practices, but there are situations you might merge a couple, okay, of processes. That's in reality. But there are 49 processes in all, and these processes are spread across 10 knowledge areas. I'm going to talk about them shortly before we round up. And they are also into 5 process groups. I wish that we could spend time on each of these knowledge areas, each of these process groups, but we won't be able to. I mean, it's usually project management training is a full day, 5-day training, a 40-hour training, 35 to 40 hours. So to break down and do all the details, we're just trying to crash everything within an hour and a half. I know we spent an hour already. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's talk about process groups. I said there are 5 of them: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. With my experience and with what the PM box says, you spend the most time in planning. Have you ever had people who says, let's go, we'll figure it out? I'm telling you, that thing is doomed to fail at some point. Of course, there are locks. You can run into a lock hole, right? But trust me, it's doomed to fail at some point. You don't want to run your project like that. Have you ever heard the saying that some people are going the wrong direction and they're going at full speed? That's the case. I would prefer that after initiating your project, right? Initiating means that's where you authorize the project manager. That's where you get the project charter. That's where you get authorization for your budget, for everything. Okay. Okay. Since you are taking questions as you go, you can take the whole time for the next 1 hour. Okay. I'll see what I can do. All right. So initiating is where they say, oh, Dari, you are the project manager. Congratulations. This project, we expect you to finish up in 4 years. You're going to draw up your project team and whatever, what. They give you the brief. And then you sit down with your core project team, say, guys, come, we have a project charter. What do we have to do? Okay. Who do we need? Then I need engineers. What kind of engineers do we need? Okay, then you begin to break it down. Then at what point of the cycle do you need these specific engineers? All right, because surely you don't need all the people for all the time of the project, right? No, some people are going to come, lay the concrete, and go. And then some other people another set of team will come and begin to mount the blocks. Okay, they are so different. When the building is done, another set of people will come for roofing. Okay, when that is done, another set of people will come for electricals, for painting, for things. You don't need all of them from beginning to the end. So now this is your planning, right? Well, first of all, you might even need to you need to do a soil testing first. To say, they said you should erect a 10-story building here. Can the soil composition of this location, can it even withstand a 10-story building with the kind of foundation we want to build? For me to say there are different kinds of foundations, okay? And they are informed by, number one, the kind of structure you're erecting, and number two, the composition of the soil on which you're building. If it's a rocky area, oh, thank God, because the rocks adds to your foundation, okay? But if it's not a rocky, if it's a swampy area, then you need to dig deep. Your foundation needs to go way deeper into the swamp, all right? And that is more money you're going to be sinking there. So now that is where you plan all of these things out, your human resource, your execution, so that when you can walk through from the beginning to that 4 years, if anything is going to happen, if there's going to be if hurricane season is going to happen in between, and you don't know whether hurricane is going to be on your path, that is going to be on the hurricane path or not, because you have to check the weather. You have to. That's why we have the meteorological agencies, right? You have to do it's called due diligence. It goes beyond just collecting money and spending money and hiring people and firing people. No, it's a whole lot of things you have to put. You have to bring in people called SMEs, subject matter experts, because you as a project manager, you don't know all. Okay, you bring in the SMEs, they form your project planning team, and they help you to plan this thing out. Right there, you will know whether you're going to need an extra year or an additional budget, or if you're going to finish it below budget. Okay, I mean, if you are building in Lagos, definitely you have to deal with Omonile. If you're building in Abuja, God help you. There's nothing like that. I mean, I have not witnessed them. So yeah, I mean, so your terrain, you have to do proper planning. Now, if you spend, in fact, almost 40% of your time is spent on planning. And when you do proper planning, detailed planning, end to beginning to the end, you can now just go and you be on what we call autopilot, because you cannot issue job orders and say this job order is starting in 5 days time. After that, this one is starting on in 10 days time. And then you can call an engineer to say, I need you, are you available sometimes in December? I need you for 5 days. And he comes back to say, yes, I'm available. And then you pin him down, you agree on fee. You tell him that I need you to arrive 2 days before your time so that you can do some medicals. We need to know, all of that little things that you do on projects, right? To ensure that your project goes fine, because you don't want your project team to begin to break down because they have some conditions that you could prevent. These are all about planning, my dear people. It's all about planning. All right. So when you plan, then you can begin to execute. Okay. Part of the planning also includes, do we have the right set of people? Do we have the right set of skill sets in this environment, in this country, or do we have to import them? What is the cost of importing experts versus training the ones we have? If we train them, will they agree to the training? I mean, will they be are they trainable? Okay, it's important. The people you're dealing with, because we all have learning curves, right? Some people can learn something in a very short while. Some, they need to be on the job to learn it. So are you okay for your projects to act as on the job training? If you know you have that kind of time, why not? It will save you costs, okay? You just have to tell your project sponsor and your key stakeholders that no, 4 years is not enough. I need 2 more years. And then I will deliver everything you asked me. So these are then you begin to execute. Now, monitoring and controlling, you start doing that from planning, really. Because when you're planning, you're also monitoring the entire thing. You don't want things to go left or right. I mean, and when you're executing, when you execute, you're not just executing, you are expected to execute according to the plans. It's not just one plan, or that you say, you have your communications plan. Every knowledge area has their own set of plans, okay? The people you will send report to weekly, monthly, the people that you have to call on the phone because that is what their character entails, if you don't want to run into trouble with them, So you have what we call your project management plan. It's not just one single plan. It's a series of plans, right? And so when you're executing to those plans. And that is why it's important as a project manager that you delegate, because how many can you do? So all of those plans, for communication plans, you have people, that does so and so every week, every day, okay? If the press comes to your site, you have designated somebody. And of course, you talk about what he or she will say. So they won't just meet anybody and then they'll open up their mouth, depending on how your project is. So these are detailed plans, okay? And when you're executing again, you execute according to the plan. That is the only way you can be guaranteed that you will finish within that time and within the budget. Because what's the point of planning and saying that you can do this under 10 million? And then when you're executing, you now begin to execute outside of the plan. You're already going out of line, all right? And so as project manager, it is a very responsible situation. You have to be up and doing and responsible. And this is where some people feel, some people from outside, they now see project managers as enjoying. They're not the one doing the work now. But you've done the sweat, the big job in your planning. It is not by mistake that on your team you have the best heads and the best hands and the best advisors. You've done your work. And so when your team starts working, everything is just fitting into each other like clockwork, and everything just working day and night, and people are seeing results. And that's actually the best thing ever for a project manager. All right. And then you close. When you're done is when you have met your project objectives. We talk about project failing, right? A project is only successful when it has met the reasons why it was instituted in the first place. If it was closed down, if the project is closed down for any other reason apart from that, that is not a success. Okay? Projects do close down because of lack of money. That is not a success. You could say, it's not the project manager's fault now. The project sponsor said he has money. But then, at some point, he now came and said, there is no more money. That is not a success story. All right? Because part of your job as project manager is also to do your due diligence. Like, this guy, my project sponsor, does he even have money? Before you take on that project, okay? And maybe there are ways for you to even save money along the way that you could have explored, all right? So it's on you. See, as project manager, right? Even if it's not your fault, even if it's a natural disaster, if a project fails or succeeds, there's only one person that is responsible for it, no matter how large or small the project is, and that is you, the project manager. End of story. No excuses, no but this one and that one. No, not at all. Nothing at all. It is you. That's it. That goes into your book. Have I ran a project that did not complete successfully? Oh yes. And I can tell you lots about them. There was this project we started out doing. It's a technology platform project for an NGO, and it was really going to be a way for us to get into the NGO industry, to manage their processes, their projects, and so like an M&A kind of thing. Of course, we had situations where we could say, do we go and get a license for SAP and all this and customize for them, or do we build from scratch for their specific needs? Because if you get an SAP, you still have to code it and customize it for their specific needs. And so we decided to build for them because we felt we had the manpower in-house. Now, we did our risk analysis about all of this, and everything checked right. We're going to save a lot of money, and everything was looking up. But then we omitted something. We knew about it, but we didn't see it as a major problem back then, which is the fact that 6 months into the project, into development work, the board of directors for that firm is going to change. And so we felt, since we signed the contract, since we can show progress on a month-to-month basis, we're still in development. Every module that we develop, we send it to them, they test it, they give us feedback. We're actually so agile about it. So they were giving instant feedback to every module, and we're growing. And then the new board came, and the guy says, the new director says, I don't like your project. I don't want it. In fact, I don't see the need for it. Wow, we were all dumbfounded. Why? He sent out the contract termination. Why? He said, yeah, you guys are supposed to delivered module 2 months ago, but this is 2 months after. I said, and I brought out communications that it was their team that actually requested for a delay. Now, if your client is the one requesting, he has to sign off on it, right? That is what I talk about when I was talking about the change control board earlier. Do you understand? So it's not no longer your fault. It's the client that is demanding for it, and you make them sign up for that. So I brought out documentation to say, oh, your team members said they were all going on leave, and because there's always a terminal leave for some key members, so they felt they won't be available to run some testing. So they requested that those modules that were ready be delayed by a month. But even in those time your team were away, we were working on other things. He saw that, and then like, okay. At the end of the day, guys, bottom line was that the new director was not interested in the project. So he had to say, you know what, let's pay you guys off. I know that because they wrote to us through their lawyer, and then we replied, we countered, and then we were ready to go to court, because you cannot say the project has not performed. Okay, we have met every bit of it. And when we now saw that arbitration was going to give us a lot of trouble, the director now said, you know what, let's pay you guys off for your troubles. Okay? The bottom line is that I don't want this project. I don't want to see your faces. So we had the choice of either going to court to sue them for the entire project cost, okay, or to take whatever amount they were willing to give to us, which of course has to cover up for all the costs that we have expended so far and some profit. Now, to you hearing the news, you say it's not your fault, right? I mean, how will you know that they won't want? But I still believe that we could have done that if we had knew or highlighted that point, that a new board might come and they might not even want this project at all. What would have happened that we will have ensured that it's part of the contract, the binding contract, to say the new board will be binded by this contract or something like that. The legal people could have actually coined something more, so that if they want to exit, it will cost them more to exit than just to say, let's pay you off. Do you understand what I mean right now? You could have done that if you have seen that risk ahead of time. And our company will have gotten paid more, okay, rather than the token we got in the end. Yes, it covered our costs, but no, that's not the way it should be. So I don't call that a success, right? The fact that we made money does not mean the project was a success. No, not at all. So this is all about risk management as well, right? We'll talk about risk later, but that's an example, okay, of a project ending, but not ending successfully. It doesn't have to be when you run out of money or it failed woefully or it didn't do what it has to do, okay? Yeah. So this is initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. These are the 5 process groups. Now, your 49 processes are under each of these. Of course, this session is not going to go into all of those details. The inputs and the outputs, the documents you need for each process, and what you get out of each process, the people you need for each process. The PM book is very detailed about that. But now let's go straight to, let me show you a picture of the entire process group, okay? This is, for me, I like to deal with graphs more. I understand things with pictures and graphs. So I guess there will be a couple of people in this session who would also appreciate this more. So you see how they all link up. You enter the project phase or the project itself. The first step is initiating, right? And then once you start, like I said earlier, monitoring and controlling, you do that as a project manager all through. You do that all through the process, even though you do that more during the planning and the executing. And you can go back and forth in that. You can plan, and then by the time you start executing, something comes up, and then you call some team members again to work on some sections of the plan that was approved, okay? You execute, and then you close and exit the project. Of course, you release your project resources. They get project allowances. If they did well, they get the extra money as well, and so on and so forth. So this is how it flows. This is also a screenshot from the PM book. Like I said, that is an important document, a book that everyone should have in his library, in his or her library, rather. All right. This is at the knowledge areas. And if it's a proper project management training, we're supposed to take each one of these knowledge areas one after the other. In fact, each one we're meant to spend like 4 or 5 hours on each knowledge area, actually, because they are voluminous with a lot of details, some with a lot of calculations. Human resources has a lot of all those things you learned in school about Abraham Maslow, hierarchy of needs, and cost, all of that. All right, but let me talk about it briefly before I end this session. So there are 10 of them, and you can see them on the slide. But 4 are important. In fact, as a project manager, you once you start executing, these are the things you watch out for straight away, because one affects the other. So you know what we call a perfect triangle, or in mathematics, or is it arithmetic now? It should be mathematics. It's what we call an equilateral triangle, where all sides are equal. Okay. Now your goal as a project manager is to maintain an equilateral triangle, meaning that they've given you this project to handle, to manage. It's going to cost you 10 million naira. Your budget is 10 million naira. Your time is 6 months. And then these are the things you should deliver, your scope. Now, you have to guard it so much so that your cost does not increase. Because if you increase the cost, right? If you increase cost, it means that your scope, something has happened to it. If you increase the scope, there's something called gold plating, where you feel somebody wants just 3 things, but you feel, let me add something on top to garnish it. Nobody send you, really. Okay? And that's called gold plating. That's an additional cost. Whatever thing you do extra costs money. But it costs some people to do it. So they are using time to do it as well. Okay? So you have to guard your time, ensure you're working at every point in time. And how you know if somebody is supposed to do a task for 4 hours and the person does this for 5 hours, that is how it starts. This task on project, they are linked. If somebody was supposed to deliver gravel to your site for 9 a.m., in fact, for 5 a.m., so that the guys can start mixing cement and start laying the cement. If the person does not deliver it until 9 a.m., you've lost 4 hours. When they now finally mix the cement, that 4 hours you can't gain it back, because even when you mix cement, you're supposed to finish mixing cement and laying the cement by 12, right? And you're supposed to wait for 2 hours or 1 day or whatever hour for the cement to solidify before you can do anything. You know that that 4 hours, there's no way you can gain it back. And if the next person on the next process also loses 30 minutes or loses another 1 hour, another person loses 2 hours, see, that is how it's going to build into an additional year on your project. That's the truth. So when you are planning and you say this task is a 4-hour task, see, they need to know, your team members need to know that this 4-hour task, you need to get it done in 3.5 hours, if possible. You must not exceed. And everybody needs to get that memo. And you're guiding that, and you're checking your schedule as the project progresses. All right? So while you're not micromanaging into how they do their jobs internally, because a project can be so large that is in different locations, and you can't be everywhere as project manager. Even your project supervisors can be everywhere as well, right? Okay, but you have to be managing your schedule and see how things are progressing. You will know when you're beginning to lose 6 hours, 12 hours. Yeah, the people may not know, the project sponsor might not know, the project owners might not know, but you already know. Next thing is that you're telling them, see, you have lost 12 hours, so you're doing overtime and I'm not paying you anything for it. As simple as that, right? You have to find a way before it gets out of hand, before it becomes a monster that you cannot control anymore. So we call that, so quality and time, cost, scope, you have to, and your quality is important. Any changes to time, either time, cost, or scope, will affect your quality because it's no longer an equilateral triangle, okay? It affects your quality. Of course, in quality, there is quality assurance and there is quality control. Now, I just want to talk about quality a little bit. It is important you know the difference. Quality control is when you say, after the job has been done, okay, and you want to send it out, but somebody wants to check for quality, and they now found out that it's not good enough. That is quality control at the end. Now, the implication of that is that you send it back and they will have to rework it. So if they spent 4 hours or 6 hours on that, that is additional 6 hours of rework. Okay? Now, quality assurance is, instead of waiting till the very end, you have processes in between that checks that the right thing is being done. Maybe for every section of the process, right? There is a check. Temperature must be at 15 degrees. So there is a check on that temperature. So that temperature does not go up to 22 degrees and affect the output. And only find out that the output was not correct at the end of the whole entire thing. But at every point in time, there is a check on the processes. Now, those checks on the process does one thing. It ensures that the output of the entire thing will be close to the range of quality of the acceptable quality. All right. So for humans, how would that work? For example, you want to ensure that's why we implement time slots in some cases where people sign in and sign out, just to ensure that people are available to work within the time allotted for them. Okay? And if they are not there, they are not paid for it. And if they miss it a couple of times, you change them. So that down the line, things will not just go out of line. Okay? That's more of a quality assurance step. It is not wickedness on the part of the project manager. No. They are just metrics, things that are put in there to ensure that everything works fine. Some people have people who edit and proofread memos and report before it goes out. That's because you don't want to have errors, right? You don't want to present 35,000 as 35 million because somebody mistyped a zero. Do you understand? So that's quality, okay? And for the other supporting areas, they are not less important. They are also key. Okay, I've talked about, in my explanation so far, I've talked about risk. I've talked about that project that we did with the NGO, right? Where we felt we should have done more in identifying that board, that handover, that handshake of the new board coming in as a major risk. And we would have used it, I would have imputed something into the legal contract that would make it difficult for the new board to back out on us the way they did. Okay, that's what we would have done if we had actually identified that risk on time, right? Talk about communications and a lot more: procurement, stakeholder management, integration management. You as the project manager, you are the chief integrator, because the people working in human resources are different from the procurement people, right? Are different from the finance people under your cost. You understand? Different from what, but you are the one who brings all of these things together. And when you are reporting to your board, to your project sponsor, he doesn't want to know what's happening on the field. You present one-pager report, maybe a graph or whatever it is. That is you. They want to know anything about the project, they talk to you. So a project manager cannot be lazy, cannot be someone who does not know about all of these things. You must know how this thing works. You must know about communications, know about human resources. You say, I'm not a human resource person. You must know about it. Okay? You must know about procurement. You must know about all of this. So that's why it's actually a serious matter. The PMP certification is so serious because it tests your knowledge in all of these things. Okay? And so that's why people will always respect someone with a PMP certification. All right. And that's why I am also encouraging you, get knowledge, but also get the certification. There's a lot to read and to learn. And of course, even after passing your PMP, does it make you like an hot cake? You still have to go on the field and get your experience. You know, project managers are like fine wine. The more projects they handle, the better they become, because now they have a lot of experiences that they can draw from. So they see, you know, there is this proverb that says, what the child sees climbing a tree, an old man will see while lying down on the mat. It is not because of height, or some people say you use drone. No, that's not what it means, you know. It means that because you've walked through it, you've been part of it. You could know, oh, this behavior by this person, if I don't tackle it now, this is what's going to develop into, because you've seen it develop into something before. Two of your team members are fighting, or two leaders on your team are not seeing eye to eye. You know what to do. You have to kill it. You have to address it. Of course, there will be situations that you know that, no, this is a minor thing. I don't have to just fan the flames. I'll just let it go and it goes. So that's where experience comes in, right? Where you know what to do per time. You know, be like the sons of Issachar, who knows how to read the time and they knows what to do. Apologies to those who doesn't understand. I just picked that from the Bible. I'm a Christian, and I draw my knowledge from all of those texts that are important to me. And you can do the same as well, along with the PM book. And I think I'm going to stop here and take questions. It's been more than an hour and a half of me talking, and hopefully this has whet your appetite about project management. It's doable. You can know all of these things. In fact, project management exposes you to a whole lot. You become a much more rounded person. Okay, and you can apply your knowledge not just to your career, you can apply to your life. I mean, you're the project manager of your life, right? So yeah, you can apply it to your life, you know. So I will take a bow here and hand over to Dari and probably take questions from everyone and from anyone. Thank you very much.
Is there any question from anybody? All right, Pelumi, are you there?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Yeah, question coming in that how long should you spend on risk analysis, and how well can you anticipate the future?
So there is no specific time. Of course, you know that your project sponsor wants your project delivered like this time tomorrow, even though realistically it's going to take 10 years, right? But at the planning stage, that initial stage, you want to ensure that you try to cover as much as possible, identify as many risks as possible. And there's only one way to do that. You cannot do that alone. Definitely, you cannot do that alone. What I do, this is what I do. If I have a project on, that was the time I had a project on health, right? I told my project sponsor, I need to talk to experienced consultants, nurses, okay? Because I want to build a technology platform for health. I'm not a doctor. In fact, I don't know much. I know technology, but I don't know health, right? So I brought them in. We flew in a consultant who has experience both in Nigeria and the UK, right? And we sat him down and we said, from your point of view, what do you think we need to do? How do you think we should approach this? And he began to load a lot of things down from his experience, which from there we were identifying risk factors and all of those things and everything, including communications. From that, we didn't stop there. We went to a local hospital, a public hospital. We engaged them. Now, all of this thing costs money because people are not going to give you their time for free, right? It costs money. We gave them some honorarium for their time. We also went to a private clinic as well. You know, we spoke with a radiologist, we spoke with a lab scientist, we spoke with a medical doctor, a gynecologist, different people. Now, this due diligence is how you can identify as much scope, right, and as much risk as possible. Okay. Now, even having done your due diligence in the first instance, if you go back to this image, this page, if you notice that the planning process is iterating with the executing, right? So things like risk, you do it till you close. Because the risk that you did not identify during initiating, or that can come up, a risk factor can come up at any point in time. So you keep doing that actively as a project manager. While your team are working, you are there looking at the bigger picture. They are there focusing on the day-to-day activities. The reason why you're not there with them, why you are not supposed to be micromanaging, is because you are spending your time on the bigger picture. Okay? Is the bigger picture, that's where you see the risk coming. That's where you know you have to follow up with the changes in weather patterns, for example, if it's going to affect your project and all of those things. And that's the role of the project manager. And I want to say that again. The project manager, anybody micromanaging, is not a good project manager, but that is not good project management. You cannot go far. Your team will do better when you trust them, when you have equipped them, and when you delegate. If they are not performing, change them. It's better for you and for them that you change them and get the hands that will perform for you than micromanage. Okay? Yeah, I hope that answers the question, because there is no answer to say this is how long you spend on risk, how long you spend on this or on that. But you know your constraints, right? The project manager, the project sponsor has given you, this is your budget, and this is time we want you to deliver. So you know your constraints. So you have to work within that constraint. So I've answered the fact that the problem is, how can you plan effectively? You don't plan alone. You plan with your team. And in addition, bring in experts, people that I refer to as subject matter experts. Bring them in. Ghana from their experience. That's how you can plan effectively. Okay. And as a programmer, can you also be a project manager? Oh, yes, you can. Why not? A time comes that you don't want to be coding forever, right? I mean, even the programming part has a part where you grow and becomes a solutions architect, where you see bigger pictures than the usual programmers. You know what I mean, right? Where programmers are just about this module or this function. I need to make this function work. A time comes and your thinking goes beyond just this function that needs to work. You're looking at the entire module. So it's not just about this function will work, but if I code it this way, it may have a problem relating to it with another function because I need this module to work. Then the time comes, you're looking at a bigger picture about the system, because this system, this entire solution must integrate with this other solution. So and all of those things you put into consideration when you're coding, right? So that's a sign of growth as a programmer. You're growing to a point where you can actually design systems. You're now a solutions architect. When you're a solution architect, of course, you can just pick up project management and you'll be a very good candidate for a project manager on a tech or a programming project, for example. Because now you could even guide the programmers on your team. And they will even connect with you better because they know that you feel their pain. You're not the type who says, go and do this in 4 days. Can't you do this? It's not just to copy and paste from Stack Overflow. No, I mean, that's wrong. But I've heard some managers say that. I mean, I'm like, this guy don't even know what it means to program, right? So as a project manager who was a programmer, who grew to become a solution architect or a project manager, you feel the pain of your team member and they will respect you more. You connect with them more or better, and you get the best out of them, or both of you will get the best out of yourselves. So yes, as a programmer, as anybody in any field, project management is applicable to any field. Any field, yes. So it's a career path, a leadership career path, actually, in whatever field that you have. And yes, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I listed my LinkedIn page earlier. I'm going to go back to that. I think on page 2. Yes, that's where you see my LinkedIn profile. You can connect with me. How do you estimate project costs to avoid going back to the project sponsor? So now, let me just talk briefly about that. So you'll see, okay. There is a pattern to coming up with your costing, and it's also part of planning. So number one, you have to know what your client or your project sponsor wanted you to do. So the bigger picture, and then you break it down, the composition. Now, I'm not talking that if you go into scope, this is the knowledge area for scope. There are processes under that to break it down, okay? And they link up to cost as well. But I'm just telling you briefly, when you break down every scope to the barest minimum, there's what we call the work breakdown structure, okay? To the barest minimum. So let's look at an arbitrary project. What's an arbitrary project? I just decided, let's just say somebody want to cook jollof rice, whatever it is. Now, You've broken it down. You need ingredients. You need this. You need cooking utensils. Now, if you don't have cooking utensils, are they available? Do you need to buy? Do you need to rent? Or do you have it? Just take from store. Ingredients, the same thing. Do you have it or you want to go and buy? Right? And if you want to go and buy, do you want to buy from the retailer or the wholesaler? Blah, blah, blah. So you break it down. You know what everything costs. So for ingredients, the one that you have in store, definitely you're not going to cost it as part of your project again because you already have that material, right? Okay, I'm assuming that is your internal process. But the ones you're going to buy, you know how much each one costs. The person that's going to go out to buy, you have to calculate how much will Uber take me to and fro. You have to calculate that. Is it going to take a bike at any point in time? You calculate that. Okay, is it going to buy extra bags or whatever, or use my barrow at any point? You calculate that. Now, when you walk through this planning in detail, you extract from every deliverable, you extract the cost item. And that is how you can get to a realistic cost and not just a cost that you will estimate. Okay, so that's what you do for every project. So for it, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, the sound went off again for a while.
Oh yeah, internet here. Sorry about that. Or you want to, no, you cost everything. Every act, every deliverable, you break down your deliverables to the barest minimum. When you do that, you are able to extract what each of those barest minimum deliverable will cost you. Then you now sum that, and that will give you your cost for your project. Of course, there is something called management reserve or contingency reserve as well, where you say after getting at your cost, you want to add a 10% contingency reserve. Now, these are to accommodate for market forces or whatever it is, right? So that in case there are fluctuations here or there, you can still be within budget. Okay? Yeah, so that's how you develop your budget. I'm asking a question here. I'm seeing a question here. Say, what does it say to embark on a career in project management without prior knowledge? You need to learn how to read. Right. Get the PM book. Read materials and volunteer. Yes, a very good way to learn on the job is to volunteer. Okay, forget about the money they will pay you. Go pay yourself, volunteer on projects for 3 months, for 6 months. Add that to your profile. Beyond just adding to your profile, you've garnered experience that you will use on your next project. So please, it's not just about, even after you've passed your PMP and you don't have a job yet, volunteer. Go to projects, tell them you're volunteering your services for the next 3 months. Whatever they give you, if they choose to give you anything, fine. You learn on the job and then you build your profile at the same time. So I recommend that a lot. Okay. Yeah, you can dive into project management from graduation, but like I also said earlier, in whatever part of industry you want to dive into, you also need to learn about that industry. All right. Tunde says this question is not related to the discussion, but what presentation tool did you use for the presentation? Okay, this is just PowerPoint, plain and simple, just PowerPoint. Yeah.
I thought it looks like that one on Apple.
Oh, okay. No, this is PowerPoint actually.
Oh, really? I thought it was I don't know what they call it now. Okay. I think you have another question there. Someone wants to move you to construction now.
Oh yeah, in construction, you talked about the strength of the ground for foundation. Okay, I want to know, will you do the ground test before budgeting for foundation, or just use budget for swampy one? No, 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 no. You have to do all the tests. So look at it this way, right? Somebody will come to you. The reason why we're in this part of the world, right? In fact, in this part of the reason why we're having collapsed buildings and co, right, is because we're not doing the right thing. If I want to build a house in a location or an office building, whatever is structure in construction, the normal thing is for me to do a proper soil test at a minimum. It's important. Do you know why it's important? Number one is it helps you to know how the amount of strength you need to build into your foundation, which has direct input on the cost, right? Because some foundations can build houses in some other places, so you get, they can. Number two, when flood comes and erosion comes, soil test will tell you that this place is open to erosion, and you will know what to do, whether to move your building elsewhere or not. You know, I'm just saying this too, but there are a number of things. By the time you go to the people who are into this area, once you say, I want to build a building, I need to run a soil testing on this. I want to build a bridge, I need to do a soil test on this. They will do it, they know, they are experts, and they will give you all the implications of the result. It's not just soil testing, you have to do air quality control as well, especially if it's a residential area. If not, if you were to be in the Western world and you build your house in a place where air quality is low, they may sue you 10 years down the line. Then that in your house, or your house was poisoning children. So now, I just mentioned that to show us that in project management, due diligence is important for us to be successful. So it's not just in construction. In every project you're doing, call in the expert. Take them for, if you can't pay them, take them for lunch. And that's why you need to always have a network. Why you need to be friendly with people. You don't know, when people say you don't know tomorrow, it's not because they're going to dash you money tomorrow. It's as simple as you might need their expertise tomorrow, or you might need the expertise of the people they know tomorrow, where they will just make a call for you and say, I have a friend who needs help. Do you know anybody in this area? And say, oh yeah, I do. And then you say, no, it's just up and coming. So, and then you meet at a restaurant somewhere or at a bar, you pay for the drinks, but you get what you get something out. And you, as a project manager, you've done your job, right? It's on you, yes, but you've delivered quality towards your project. So really, your network is important. Yes, any other question, please?
Not sure. Not sure we can really take any question again, even right now. So, yeah,
it's 8 p.m. Oh my God.
the time flies when you're having fun. So, for those who have asked how to get the slide, and because I said something in the class yesterday as well too, which is the fact that instead of sending lots and lots of emails to us, the approach is to look for how to put everything together in one location. So one of the things that we're using is Google, there's this thing called Google Classroom. So you can, I'll just be very quick on that. I know I have just like 2 minutes to talk now. So if you go to classroom.google.com, I hope I typed that correctly. I sent it to, but leave me alone. Let me send it to everybody. Yep, so if you go to the Google Classroom, you'll be then once you get into Google Classroom, you have option there once you click that says join a class or create a class. Select the option for join the class, and you'll be asked for the invite link. So you enter this invite. Oh, did I type this correctly? Ah, okay. There's even a full link. So the full link that is pasted here now can get you directly into the classroom, or you just go to the initial website. Go to classroom.google.com yourself, and then you type this code in. This is IFH LXZB. Yeah. So either you type the full link that is there, or you go to classroom.google.com and then you put in the code IFHLXZB. So what's going to happen there is that every material we have on project management will be shared there. So the slides will be attached there. Then there are links that might be sent to you as well to maybe to read further stuff and all that will also be shared on there, and you'll be able to comment and even ask questions and interact even with yourself on that place there. So any question? Has anybody tried it? Was it success? Did you get success? Did you get it? Did you get through successfully? Anybody? No one? Oh, yes, someone said yes. Okay, great. So go in there. The next class we'll be having as well too. The slides will be shared, more links will be shared there as well too, and you could have some interaction happening there on project management. So and I think as interaction happens on it, based on how you do your settings on the thing there, you'll be getting maybe like email alert to say this has been attached or this comment has been made and things like that. So yep. So that's that. An introduction to project management. In summary, you've learned about the skills required, the knowledge areas, and the process groups. So read more about it, as Pelumi has encouraged you as well to try to lay your hands on the project management body of knowledge. I think if you try to buy the soft copy, that might even be maybe cheaper. I don't know. So look out for, just make efforts to study more on all these things. Like I told the guys in the class yesterday, that the what we're trying to achieve with these sessions is not like pour all the knowledge for you in a short time, but give you as much basic information as possible, that when you now going to research for more information, you are knowing what to search for, you are knowing what to read about. Like you've had in today's class now, it's easy for you to go out now and look for the knowledge areas, to read more on this slide. Thank you, Pelum. That particular slide before this one now. Yes, these are the key things you want to go look for. What are the 49 processes? What are the 10 knowledge areas? What are the 5 process groups? And read and get some insights and all those things. And even if you get on PMI, for instance, and just sign up, even if you don't do the paid membership, if you just sign up on PMI, you get some form of activities that happen. Maybe they do webinars and things like that. You get notified about things like that, and you can also join to also brush up and expand your knowledge. And as Kulimi had said, volunteer for projects. We have some people in the internship with us right now who will be able to like take some of all this and work on it practically. And for those who couldn't join right now, hopefully we'll have another batch sometime later on. But we have to make sure we are not working with too many numbers that won't be able to manage. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining the class today. Tomorrow, we are looking at growth marketing. So if that is one of the areas you're looking at as well to getting on the call, we are looking to look for ways to get emails to you so that you can get it in your calendars as well too. So there was something I wanted to say that just escaped me now. Yeah, so if you signing up for growth marketing, turn up. If not, check your emails for the dates we've given. I think 24th of November is the next class for project management. Yes, what I wanted to say was that we would expect more activity from you guys beyond just attending a 2-hour session and disappear. And that's why we're using that Google Classroom. So engage on that platform. You could ask more questions there, and we could make sure that you are getting even more knowledge beyond what we're able to cover within the classes. So thank you. Have a beautiful evening, everybody. See you tomorrow, or see you whenever is the next time you will be joining. Thank you very much, Pelumi. We really appreciate you today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.